Hello everyone, welcome to the last edition of SpearCenter for the fall 2022 semester. I'm your host, Aiden Bostic.
And I am Tyler Casilla.
SJSU football's regular season has officially wrapped up. The Spears' Matt Weiner has more on the Spartans' final game against Hawaii.
The Spartans took down the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors 27-14 to end senior day in the regular season on a joyous note. Chevin Cordero threw 2 touchdowns, both of which came in the first half to Elijah Cooks and helped put San Jose State up 14-6 heading into the second half. Cooks finished with 10 catches, 121 yards, and now leads the Mountain West with 10 receiving touchdowns. Kyrie Robinson, who finished with a career-high 148 rushing yards, extended the lead 21-6 in the third quarter on a 1-yard rushing score. After a Terran Chive field goal, Hawaii made a late rally as Braden Shager hit Steven Fiso on a 22-yard touchdown plus a 2-point conversion to trim the deficit to 24-14. Hawaii's comeback aspirations died when SJSU's Junior Fehoko and Cade Hall both sacked Shager on 4th down. SJSU took home the Dick Tomei Legacy Trophy and will play Eastern Michigan in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl on December 20th at 12:30 p.m. on ESPN.
Thank you, Matt. Now Matt joins Aikman Fang and Nathan Canilau for some takeaways from the season.
San Jose State football team will be at the famous Idaho Bowl on December 20th, where they will take on Eastern Michigan. They finished the year with 7 wins, and this is their second bowl appearance in 3 years. I'm joined by my colleagues Aikman Fang and Matt Weiner. Matt, what does this bowl appearance mean for San Jose State football and the program as a whole?
Right, so I think it's significant for what Brent Brennan has done. Because 2018, I mean, we just look at this class that he brought in, because 2018 is his first recruiting class. Obviously came in 2017, but it's his first class. And now we get to see this big class all the way 5 years later, 4 years later, and they did it. That's 2 bowl games in 3 years. That has not been done since Claude Gilbert did it in 1986 and 1987. That is huge. As far as program, well, let's look at it as in, wow, I think there is something to go from here. Headed forward, which means going forward, transfer portal, recruits. So I think this is like want to like send out the bat signal for recruits of like, hey, if you want to come here, like it's a competitive conference and you could really start putting yourself on the map.
And Aikman, I mean, we've looked at Brent Brennan since, he started off his career with 1 and 2 win seasons. What does this season mean for just his legacy as a whole?
I think this season shows how Coach Brennan has turned the Spartans around. Since 2019, Coach Brennan has led the Spartans to 24-19 record. He's the only other coach since Claude Gilbert to lead San Jose State to multiple bowl appearances within 3 years. The Spartans are on their up and up, and I would agree with Matt, especially with the transfer portal this year. It essentially promotes San Jose State as a very desirable destination.
And going back to that transfer portal, we've seen over 1,000 guys enter their name, and what advantage does San Jose State have when recruiting, and not just at the high school level, but at the transfer portal level? What advantages does Brennan and the staff have now that they've had a bowl game appearance?
Right, because they're showing they could adapt to this new world, and they showed that you could do it. So, and that's an important part of yes, defense. Those guys besides Chase Williams, all those guys like the Kyle Harmons, the Cade Halls, the Junior Fehokos, the Nehemiah Sheltons, they've been here for a long time. Offensively, they're showing it's a plug-and-play thing where Chev, first year, second team All-Mountain West. Elijah Cooks, first year, first team All-Mountain West. Justin Lockhart, honorable mention. So as far as goes for transfers coming in, just because there's huge 4-star, 5-star guys, I'm not saying they'll get 5 stars, but for some of those 4-star guys, you could come here, well, with the talent you bring, maybe you could have a pretty great season and then level up into the draft. So that's where we're looking down for the guys who could trickle down from the Oregons, from the Alabamas, maybe those guys who just kind of can't find a way in, come down here, have success.
And you talk about kind of the seniors, the defense, right? When you look back at this 2018 class, Aikman, what is their legacy in what they've accomplished in the 4 or 5 years that they've been here?
I want to go back to what Matt said earlier about how the culture has completely shifted from the 2018 season, especially with guys like Junior Fehoko, Imamai Shelton, Kyle Harmon. This team was 1-11 in 2018, but ever since that, they've had either a winning record or close to a winning record in the last 4 seasons, and it shows that San Jose State is on the up and up and is climbing the mountain, like Coach Friend has preached the last couple of years.
And as we wrap up here, can I get a score prediction or a bowl prediction from you guys? I'll start with Matt.
Cold. I feel like it's just going to be kind of a grimy kind of game. Also, but I don't know, it's hard because it's cold, but then also Boise Blue Turf. So does that mean there's going to be a lot of scoring? I'm going to say 24-20 SJSU.
What do you think about that, Aikman?
I'm similar note. I'm going to say 27-21 San Jose State beats Eastern Michigan.
Gotcha. All right. Well, thanks, guys. We'll throw it back to Tyler and Aiden.
Now, Carlos Reyes and Gerardo Gonzalez are here to recap SJSU men's soccer and their trip to the Western Athletic Conference Championship.
Hello everyone and welcome to our final soccer analysis of the year. I'm Carlos Reyes and I'm joined by men's soccer beat reporter Gerardo Gonzalez.
Thanks, Carlos. Glad to be here.
So Gerardo, the men's soccer team strung on a brilliant performance of games across the season. At the end of the day, they ended up with the 2nd seed in the WAC. Although it was the same team we had been following all throughout the season on paper, it definitely didn't seem that way against California Baptist. What went wrong for the Spartans?
Yeah, so San Jose State made it to the championship game for the WAC. They played California Baptist, and although it's a neutral tournament, California Baptist is from Riverside, which the tournament was hosted there. So basically, CPU was playing on home field advantage, kind of. So, and they finished number 5, I believe, California Baptist. So San Jose State, for one hand, seemed to be the favorites as they finished number 2. And I just think that the match was contested for most of the game. And San Jose State had chances in the second half to take the lead and finish the game off. They had, I believe, like 3 opportunities, clear opportunities, and they missed it. And they just weren't effective in the final thirds.
A clear outlier in San Jose State's offense is, midfielder Boleru. He tends to take charge, and many could even say he's the engine of the team. He was kind of missing in this game. A lot of those creative opportunities that lead to an attack or lead to a scoring opportunity for the Spartans were kind of missing in that game. Even though San Jose State had control of the game in some areas, they outshot California Baptist 16-12. It just didn't seem to click at the end.
It just didn't. It just seems like everything that they worked for throughout the season just kind of just vanished almost throughout this game.
Somebody that always steps up to the plate though, as far as San Jose State and that defense, is David Sweeney.
Yeah.
When it came to the parts of the game where he needed to step up, he was there. He made sure his defense was in check. He had yet another shutout.
Yeah, he finished basically the whole season with 8 shutouts after this championship game. Finished 0-0, so he got this 8 shutout. And I mean, for his part, he did keep the game, and I guess as a draw, 0-0, because they did get shots against as well, San Jose State. So David Sweeney helped basically the team stay alive. But it's just that, for me, it was the attacking for San Jose State were missing, and it was this opportunity to basically win the game and in regular time. And they went into extra time, and then it seems like they were both fatigued, and they're both playing to look for the penalties. And it seems like they went to penalties, and I just don't know what it is. It seems like head coach Simon Tobin did not practice for some reason throughout the week.
You bring up penalties, although sometimes they come ignored, and it's oftentimes very hard to prepare for them. Yeah. They are still a very important part of the game. And as a player, you dread having to take those steps up, setting the ball, and going one-on-one against the keeper. But if you want to win championships, if you want to be that hero for your team, you got to be able to step up and embrace that pressure. And embrace that limelight and make your mark when it's needed to. And I just didn't see one confident penalty for San Jose State out there.
One. You got to have ice in your veins when it comes to championship games and penalties, shootouts as well, especially. It's like, it seems like they didn't practice. They should have. They only made 1 penalty. They lost 3-1 in the shootouts. 2 of them, I believe, went up, not even on target. So it's like, I know it's difficult and the pressure in the moment, but like you just mentioned, you just have to keep that calm and be secure and confident. And it seems like hopefully next season they have better luck and they could, fix these minor mistakes in order to hopefully make another run towards the championship game again.
Yeah, it's definitely a very disappointing way to end the season. That is all for us today. We look forward to men's soccer and women's soccer leading forward into next year. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Now we turn our attention to Aikman Fing and volleyball.
San Jose State volleyball made it to their first Mountain West championship last month, but came up short to Utah State in 4 sets. In head coach Trent Kirsten's third season, the Spartans appeared in their first Mountain West championship since joining the conference in 2013 and finished the season with a 21-9 record. It was the first time the Spartans finished with 20 wins or more since the 2001 season, when they made it all the way to the second round of the NCAA tournament and fell to the eventual national champion Stanford. San Jose State also set a school record for most conference wins as it finished 14-4 in conference play. San Jose State has finished with 13 conference wins in 3 seasons, with 2021 being the most recent. The Spartans finished 13-5 in conference play. Additionally, 4 Spartans were honored with all Mountain West recognition. 5th-year senior Sarah Smevog, senior Amethyst Harper, and junior Mia Schaefer were named to the All-Mountain West team, while 5th-year senior Haley Nelson was an All-Mountain West honorable mention. This is the 4th All-Mountain West honor for Nelson, while it was the 2nd for Smevog and Schaefer. With me to provide analysis on the San Jose State volleyball season is Aiden Bostic.
How you doing, Aikman?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for joining me.
Yep. Initially, so I want to talk a little bit about, we have all these players leaving, who you just kind of talked about a little bit. Who do we need to step up this next season, and who can fill those spots that are being vacated with these seniors leaving?
I don't know if step up is necessarily the right word. I think just just stay on the path they are, especially with outside hitters like Blair Fleming and Amethyst Harper returning to the Spartans for another season. We have setters like Mia Schaefer. I think if the talent stays on the current trajectory or that they're at, San Jose State volleyball is poised to make another run in the Mountain West Championship.
Yeah, definitely. And when you look at the season, this season, we had the win against Utah State regular season, and then we lose later on against Utah State again. Then we're in the Mountain West Championship against Utah State, where we lose. How do you feel? We're right there on the cusp of it. We're right at the cusp of being the champions. What do you think that next push they need is to take that next step?
I think it just shows how chaotic Mountain West is, especially with volleyball. Anything can happen. We saw this in the last regular season match where San Jose State lost to San Diego State. San Diego State actually had a really tough season, but San Diego State did play spoiler to the Spartans, who were undefeated before that match, where they were undefeated at home. I think the Spartans, they have a very good opportunity to make another run, but like you said, there's other very competent teams in the Mountain West Conference. We have teams like Utah State, Colorado State, UNLV. All these teams are just as good, if not possibly better next season as the San Jose State Spartans. We're losing about 4 seniors. We are losing Haley Nelson. We're losing Sarah Smevog. I think the Spartans, they have a lot of these holes they need to replace. However, they're also recruiting a couple of All-Americans, and I think they actually have a very good shot at contending for another Mountain West Championship.
Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting to see kind of how they face the adversity of, losing your Mountain West All-Stars, and kind of the people that held it together for basically the entirety of the season. Haley Nelson was a kill leader a couple games this season, if not 5 and up, Amethyst coming back, she's going to have to play exceptionally well again. But I think it also gives room for somebody like maybe Brooke Bryant, to get more minutes and, perform at a high level too, just kind of with those little vacancies. But it'll be interesting to see how Kirsten just kind of faces that adversity and tries to make the same steps they took this season.
I think Kirsten has done a great job, especially with how he came into his position facing a lot of adversity, especially coming into the position during the pandemic. He didn't really get to have full practices. He came in this position and there were they basically had 4 people in practice, and they were practicing on grass. In the second season, this team, I believe, went, I think, 19-10, or they had 19 wins. This season, they had 21 wins, and almost every year they have improved, if not shown that this team is a contender in the Mountain West. And I'm actually very pleased with how head coach Trent Kirsten has carried and has led this Spartan team.
Definitely, definitely. That closes it out for volleyball for the fall 2022 season, and we can look forward to beach volleyball in the 2023 season. Thanks for having me, Aikman.
Thanks for joining me, and now back to Tyler and Aiden.
Indoor sports are in season, and we are taking a deep dive into SJSU basketball. First, beat reporters Matt Weiner and Nathan Canela review the men's season so far.
A couple nights ago, coming off a 58-48 win against Cal State Bakersfield. Not the prettiest one in the world, so let's just start there.
Yeah, you know, they shot 35% from the field. It was an ugly win. Overall, though, you saw that the defensive intensity picked up, especially after the loss against Arkansas, where they kept it close, couldn't close them out in the second half. It was just a gritty win. Mar didn't have his best game, but they got scoring from other spots. What did you think about kind of the guard rotation that we saw with Cardenas playing heavy minutes, with Amari playing heavy minutes? What did you think about the overall rotation of the team?
Yeah, I'll just quick right there on the heavy minutes. I don't know how sustainable this is.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure it's another game where it's 39-40. We saw them play so much in the Baja Mar Hoops tournament. I think I sent you a text where it's like, how is this sustainable? Amari 40, Cardenas 40. So I'm interested also seeing, like, what are your thoughts on all the heavy usage?
Well, this is just kind of an indictment on what we've seen from MJ Amy, right? So he is a guy that was supposed to step into this year and have a big role as a backup point guard, as a sixth man, possibly as a starter, but we haven't seen him play as much. He is coming off an ankle injury, but again, in the game against CSU Bakersfield, 0 points. Played a few minutes and didn't really do much. He needs to get into that rotation a little bit more. I think Tim Miles right now is a little bit hesitant with his injury, but he needs to get in. Once we hit conference play, he definitely needs to start playing. Let's talk a little bit about what this team, how it's made up real quick. What did you think of just the overall scoring numbers from guys like Tibet and guys like the performance of Ibrahima Diallo?
Yeah, so, I mean, Tibet nailed a couple threes. I mean, he's just going to be the 3 guy where it's like, I don't know, your classic like Danny Green or Kyle Korvers, where it's like either they hit threes and that'll be their offensive production, or they're really not doing much. I think he's starting to get it going. As far as Diallo, very happy with the way he's been playing.
Right.
I mean, I think we're seeing finally he's really healthy, and that's been awesome. But also I want to touch on Sage Tolbert, because his addition, I think, has been by far the biggest, not even off-season addition, but addition of the Tim Miles era. I'm willing to stand tall on that take.
And that's true. I mean, he is a scorer. He brings a defensive presence. And just to wrap up here, I mean, what do you foresee for this team going forward? I know they have a couple big matchups against Santa Clara, and then, you know, after Christmas, you got league play, and Utah State looks good, and Fresno looks good, and San Diego State's ranked, right? So what do you see from this team going forward?
Right, so let's start with Santa Clara. So crosstown rival, and also one of the things that I didn't realize, but then was just talking to some of the guys, is that they actually had open runs against each other over the summer. So they were like, I was talking to Diallo, just ran into him yesterday, and he was saying that one week they're at Santa Clara, the next week they're down here in San Jose. So this is kind of like, it's not like a big social media where it's like a Fresno, like a well-known rival, but this is kind of one of those things where there is a lot on the line for the Silicon Valley. And then, but also so this is where they should be judged. Arkansas, you can't, like, the talent's just not there.
Right.
That's not an opponent. Santa Clara is a great team, 8-2, and that's going to be the challenge of like, okay, you're now 1 win away from matching the win total from last year. They have 7 now. Last year it was 8. This is the big game for them. It's like, okay, we know you're showing something. This is the time to be like kind of the put your money where your mouth is. Like, this is that game.
Right. All right.
A statement game. That's a classic
most
sports
definitely. From Silicon Valley classic right here. So thank you so much for tuning in. We'll throw it back to our anchors.
All right, thanks.
For a look at women's basketball, beat reporter Naveen Krishnan and Aikman Fang join us now.
Here's our San Jose State women's basketball segment. I'm Aikman Fang. With me is Naveen Krishnan.
Hi, Aikman.
The San Jose State Spartans are on a 5-game losing streak after losing to USC 71-44 this past Tuesday. The Spartans shot 27% and committed 24 turnovers. Naveen, what should the Spartans focus on to snap out of its slump?
I think the next step for the Spartans is really just versatility. I feel like a lot of people think versatility has to do with players being able to shoot, dribble, and pass. But really, I think that the Spartans need to have a better game plan than just running, gunning, and getting stops. They got to be able to play big, small, slow, fast. Elite teams can execute different styles of gameplay in game, and I think that's definitely the next step for them. They're not going to win every game. They're not going to. They might not even have a winning season this season, but I think that April Phillips has told us multiple times when interviewing her that a lot of people look at stuff and they look at the field goal percentage and they say, well, the Spartans need to shoot better, or they look at the turnovers and say the Spartans need to handle the ball better. But I think honestly, it's different in the light of players. You got to put together all the fundamentals together. The little things coming together. That's what It's not just fixing one glaring issue, just by magic. You have to put the pieces of the puzzle together, and I think that's what San Jose State's beginning to do. They play. They're not playing awful, and they're not doing it on purpose. They're growing from it, and I think that Spartans and Spartan Nation must realize that winning is not a skill that can be practiced. It's an art that requires failure.
I agree with you on the versatility. The Spartans have done a great job defensively. Coach Phillips has preached on running full court press throughout the game. However, I think there's one glaring issue, and it's the inability just to score in the half court. And a lot of that has to just being flexible, especially mentally flexible when the other team goes on these 6-0, 12-0 runs. Basketball is a game of runs, and I think the Spartans, if they can just stay with them themselves, and as April Phillips has said, if they can just play basketball all 40 minutes, I think the Spartans team can bounce back later in the season. But I think it's still, the question still remains, can the San Jose State basketball play winning basketball, especially when it comes to the Mountain West Conference?
The Spartans, they do play a certain style of basketball, but I think that they will keep improving. It's not a rebuilding season. I wouldn't use that term, but I've talked to Coach Phillips, and honestly, the thing that they keep reiterating is that this team is totally horizontal, like I said, totally a horizontal pecking order. There's no supporting cast. Jada Holland might be their best player, but they don't have a supporting. They don't play that way. They play with everyone being equal to each other. I think that's really a key going into later this season. But honestly, failure hurts, but it gives you strength. And I think that that's what the Spartans need to look at going ahead, is that they just got to keep their head up. And I think they can grow from this. I think that not just playing one style. I think around next year they're going to continue playing their defense and they're going to evolve.
I agree with you, Naveen, that with failure comes a great learning opportunity. But that's all that we have for San Jose State women's basketball. Now it's back to Tyler and Aiden in the studio.
That's a wrap here at SpearCenter. Be sure to follow at the Spear SJSU for all things SJSU sports related. For the Spear, I am Tyler Castillo.
And I am Aiden Bostic.
For the last time of the fall 2022 semester, thank you and go Spartans.
You